Hello everyone, welcome to Chapter 10, Lesson 1. We're going to do the volume of rectangular prisms. So we're going to scan the lesson. Two things we'll find out. We will learn how to find volume of a rectangular prism. The next thing, how to find a missing dimension. Of a rectangular prism. So to define volume is the amount of space in a three-dimensional figure. 3D stands for three-dimensional. When would you use volume to find how much something can hold? So an example, how much space inside of an aquarium. Not an example. How much space of the floor of the aquarium. Real world link. So the dimensions of an aquarium are shown. What is the area of the base of the aquarium? So the base, in this case, the base is the bottom. And since this is a three-dimensional figure, my whole bottom, let me use a different color. My whole bottom is the entire floor, because that's the bottom of my three-dimensional figure. So the area of my base, so the area of my bottom is going to be 3 times 2. Which equals 6 feet squared. What is the height? The height is 2 feet. So my height is now how tall is my aquarium? So how to find volume, I'm going to take my length times my width times my height. So 3 times 2 times 2 is going to equal 12 feet cubed. Notice in volume, my unit is cubed or to the third power. Key concept. The volume of a rectangular prism. The volume of a rectangular prism is length, width, and height, or the product of the length, width, and height. So volume equals length, which is going to be a L, a cursive L, times the width, times the height. That is volume. Volume's with a capital V. Or the other formula, which I'm not going to use that much, is going to be volume equals base times height. Now notice how they use a big B or capital B. So that's the area of the base. So B equals area of base. And I can see how base can get confusing, as in chapter 9 we've been working with bases for two-dimensional figure. That's why I'm going to go with more with length times width times height. So a three-dimensional figure says length, width, and height. A prism is a three-dimensional figure with two parallel bases that are congruent polygons. Congruent means the same. Parallels when the lines will never intersect, or they will never touch. In a rectangular prism is a rectangle, but is a three-dimensional. Volume is the amount of space inside a 3D figure. It is measured in cubic units, which can be written using abbreviations such as exponent of 3, such as units to the third power or inches cubed. Decomposing is the number of cubes of a given size that will fit the prism. Another method to decompose a rectangular prism is find the area of the base and multiply by the height. So find the volume of the rectangular prism. So one way is the base times height, or length times width times height, which I'm going to use length times width times height. So the length is 12, the width is 10, and the height is 6. So 12 times 10 is 120, times 6 equals 720 centimeters cubed. So go ahead and try A and B. So for A, I have 5 times 5 times 5, or plus my inches, equals 125 inches cubed. And for B, I have 4 feet times 10 feet times 6 feet, which is going to be 240 feet cubed. Next, it says the cereal box is the dimension shown. What is the volume of the cereal box? So I have 8 times 12 and a half times 3 1/4. So if we multiply all of these together, so there's 2 ways we can do this. We can have a common denominator, or I can convert these to decimals. And these are decimals that we should already know. So we have 8 times 12 and a half times 3 1/4. So we get 325. So 325 inches cubed. So go ahead and try C and pause the video. So we give 4 inches long, 5 inches high, and 8.5 inches wide. So 4 times 5 times 8.5. So 20 times 8 is 160, and then 20 times a half is 10. So 160 plus 10 is 170 inches cubed. So now we're going to find the missing dimension. This is when it's going to get a little bit tougher. But it should be tough, but it should also be familiar. Don't be intimidated. So we know volume equals length times width times height. And for this example, volume equals 84. And my length is 6 times my height is 4. Times my width is 4 times my height. So we get 84 equals 24h. I need to get h by itself, and there's a 24 attached to it. So I'm going to use inverse operations, and I'm going to divide my 24 on each side. So my height should equal 3.5 meters. And remember, only my volumes is cubed. My dimensions are just going to be constant, per se. So it's just going to be meters. So go ahead and try D. So after doing got it, volume is 24.5 times 7 times 3 times my width. So I get 94.5 equals 21 W. Divide 21 on each side. Those cancel. So W is going to equal 4.5. And that's the end of the lesson. So thank you for watching.